Hello, I'm Bill Bullard with R-CALF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Well, the expression "you can't win for losing" means that when a person or group loses over and over again, it prevents that person or group from ever winning. So let's see if that expression applies to R-CALF USA and the many court cases it has filed on behalf of its cattle producing members beginning in the early 2000s. You'll recall in May of 2003, when Canada detected a native case of BSE. At the time, U.S. law prohibited the importation of beef or cattle from any country where BSE was known to exist. Thus, the U.S. immediately closed its border to Canadian cattle and beef. At least that's what the U.S. Department of Agriculture, or USDA, said at the time. But it wasn't telling the truth. We soon learned that USDA had told certain importers that they could continue importing certain beef products from Canada, even though our U.S. law said it could not. And so R-CALF USA entered our U.S. judicial system to protect America's ranchers. Now, fed cattle prices were depressed in the years leading up to this incident. They averaged only about $67 per hundredweight in 2002, and 550 weight calf prices were around $91 per hundredweight. So we filed a lawsuit in early 2004, alleging USDA was violating the law. And we soon won, and the border reclosed. Now that triggered a years-long lawsuit in which we kept the border closed to live cattle imports from Canada for 2 years. And cattle prices responded favorably to our lawsuits, with fed cattle prices jumping to an entirely new plateau, $20 per hundredweight higher than pre-lawsuit prices. And USDA data shows that returns to cow-calf producers jumped to over $100 per bred cow in 2005, which was then the highest in history. So we accomplished what we set out to do, to help America's ranchers. But we ultimately lost that case at the Ninth Circuit. So this case that was ultimately lost, nevertheless, resulted in a 2-year win. Later came our country of origin labeling, or COOL case. We ultimately lost that case too. But the case helped inform the world that USDA was allowing importers to relabel foreign beef as USA beef. And the court found that U.S. cattle producers were harmed when Congress repealed mandatory country of origin labeling for beef in 2015. This means the jury's still out on that case. Then came our beef checkoff case. We won a preliminary injunction that preserved the First Amendment rights for Montana cattle producers, because they were given the right to choose if they wanted their state beef checkoff council to take their money. It also caused USDA to assert more control over their government-controlled beef checkoff program. And the case proved that USDA had been operating the beef checkoff program in violation of the U.S. Constitution for decades. And after all that, we lost the case at the lower level, and it is now under appeal. So the jury is out on this one too. But the attention this case has attracted helped to initiate the ongoing beef checkoff petition drive at checkoffvote.com. And finally, we have the RFID mandate case, or radio frequency identification ear tag case. We won that quickly, with USDA withdrawing its unlawful mandate in just a matter of weeks. Now, this caused the court to dismiss the RFID portion of our case. But the second issue, whether USDA also violated the law by using 2 private committees to help it work out the details of its mandate, lived on for many more months. While the case proceeded, the USDA made the public pronouncement that it would not proceed with RFID mandates unless the agency initiates a formal rulemaking process. In other words, unless the agency first follows the law. There's our second win in that case. But now we have lost in our efforts to prohibit the USDA from using the work product of those 2 committees when and if it proceeds to a rulemaking. But we may appeal this case too, which will call even more attention to the agency's years-long effort to ignore the law. So does R-CALF USA's litigation record fit the model of a group that can't win for losing? Or is R-CALF USA's persistence and perseverance in its legal actions making systematic improvements in the lives of America's cattle producers? Higher cattle prices resulting from our BSE lawsuit constitutes an improvement. And acute awareness regarding the mislabeling of imported beef and the need for mandatory country of origin labeling may soon lead to an improvement. And putting an end to USDA's decades-long violation of the constitutional rights of cattle producers certainly is an improvement. And stopping completely the USDA's unlawful plan to mandate RFID is, as well, a definite improvement. And then there's our historic antitrust case filed against the Big Four packers in 2019. And we'll talk more on that later. So please go to our website at r-cafusa.com to join with us so we can change the course of your industry. With that, have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.